Welcome back to the Apprentice 101 podcast. We are back again this week with another episode discussing the electrical industry and in particular training to become electricians. Please do get involved in the discussion around social media. Link back to this episode. If you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel and be sure to leave us a comment. Enjoy and catch up with you all soon. Hello and welcome back to the Apprentice 101 podcast. It is me, Mark, and I'm joined again by my co-host Richard. And we have a new guest to the channel, Andrew Duffen. And I'm going to start with you first, Richard. How are you, my friend?
Stressed out today, Mark. Thank you. I've had a busy day with trains playing up and signals not working and a 2-hour journey turning into a 4.5-hour journey. But saying that, all good, absolutely.
There's only one person responsible for that I can think of, and it's Neil Bridgman. I hold him entirely to blame for any issue on the rail network. So he's got a lot to explain for on that one. Sorry to hear about your struggles, but thank you for finding the time to still come and have a chat with us about a very important topic we're going to get to later on that we've not covered before. But before we delve into that, we'll jump over to you, Andrew. And how are you?
I'm really well, actually. I've got the total opposite to Richard. I'm currently on annual leave at the moment, so no stress like that with travel commitment today for me. Just enjoying time with the family today.
Wicked. So, I mean, you've got time out from the day job, but you're still setting aside a bit of time to come and chat with us tonight. So I massively appreciate that. We are going to speak about T-levels because that is something I know that Andrew is delivering in his current job role because I met him at a Proteus event probably a couple of months ago now, and he's out doing the do, so to speak. So we're going to have a real delve into that and try and open a few eyeballs at that training mechanism that is out there. I don't think it's covered very much at all in the social sphere, and it's quite new. But before we get into that, Andrew, what's your kind of background? Have you been an electrician in the past, or have you always been in teaching?
No, I tried to be an electrician, put it like that. So I left school in 98, got an apprenticeship with a local company in Aston in Birmingham. Stayed with them for 17 years, worked my way up through the company and predominantly done mostly testing with them towards the end of my career with them. But unfortunately, Carillion took them down when Carillion went under, and then many years ago. And then we joined an M&E package there in Birmingham as well, another Birmingham-based company. And I had a lot of work out of town at the time. This was about 2019 area, and my wife was pregnant, and I had enough of working out of town. I didn't really fancy it, and I always fancied a bit of teaching, passing on knowledge really, and sharing experiences. So I thought I'd give teaching a go, and then worked in a training provider with Richard for about just under a year, and then I moved to a local college in my area. That's currently where I'm working today.
Wicked. So you've got experience out at the coalface for quite a long time. You don't look old enough, I've got to say.
Thank you.
Now you're in the teaching game. Have you done your teaching quals then? Because that's something a lot of electricians assume that the teaching part's easy, but I know that's not the case.
No, I've done my teaching qualification. I had my ceremony this year, actually. It was postponed due to COVID. So I've done it during COVID. I got my debt last year. Hardest qualification I've done to date. Exceeds any electrical qualification. It's like essay writing and researching and reading and philosophers and that kind of stuff. It out my comfort zone totally, but very proud to have achieved it. Put it like that.
Yeah, I think it's often misunderstood, I think, with Sparks that teaching is a skill set in its own right, and it doesn't get enough value, both in the salaries that are offered out in the training sphere and also from those of us still out in industry. So full credit to you. So you're now full-time at an FE training provider.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your day-to-day job is to do with the T levels, or do you teach?
So I covered quite a few actually this year. I covered quite a few quite different qualifications. I mean, it's all electrical installation in a nutshell, but I do 8202 level 3. I do 2365 level 2, level 3. I do T levels, and I also do apprenticeship 5357 as well.
So I've got a question for both of you two guys, because you'll both know the answer to this, but what is the key differences between all of those different kind of quals for those people who might be listening? Because I get asked that a lot. You know, what are these qualifications? What's the best way in?
Oh, well, I'd say the 2365 is more unit based, more of a traditional method. so to speak. So you do a unit, you do exam, you move on to the next unit, and so on and so on. And that goes across level 2 and level 3. The 8202 is whether it's level 2 or level 3 is well, level 2 they've got one exam at the end of the year, and it's on the whole course. The percentage rate to pass it is lower, but it's multiple choice at level 2, and at level 3 again, it's well, they have 2 exams. They have a spring and a summer, and again that's a written paper, and they also have a synoptic where they've got to do design brief as well, and they have to do some endpoint assessments on inspection and testing and fault finding.
Okay, there's a bit of a difference there between the two. Is the 2365 and 8202 losing their funding? Is that correct for your full-time learners?
Yes.
And it's all been put towards T levels. So that's going to be the thing that's, the default mechanism of training, isn't it, going forward?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. We're defunded for the level 3 from September. You can still do level 2 2365, but you can't do level 3 2365 from September at my FE provider at the moment.
Wowzers. So Richard, when you were still in the training sphere, were these courses still part of your curriculum? Were you delivering these as well?
Yeah, so way back when me and the great Mr. Gary Howes used to knock about for 3 years or so together, we used to deliver the EAL full-time courses, which is equivalent to 2365. And as Andy quite rightly says, they were unit-based with a general written exam or a multi-choice exam and maybe a practical element. But each unit, was finished with those exams, and you moved on to the next unit. And then delivering the 5357, which is the City and Guilds apprenticeship framework, that was unit-based as well. So I never really got involved as such with the 8202 stuff that Andy does, where there's synoptic assessments and you do the whole lot, and then you've got an exam on all of it at the end. And are those exams, the written ones, you don't get to see those written exams as well for those, Andy? Is that right?
No, that's correct. They do release them
Right.
after they've sat all the exams, obviously. So you do get them to use them as a dummy run for students and a guide. But we don't see them prior to the exam, so we can't coach them towards the exam. You don't know what's going to come up.
But fundamentally, the units are the same and the knowledge is the same, isn't it? It's just how it's assessed at the end of it. So certainly from my experience, it's difficult enough to get the learners to take the notes that they need to take, do the extra little bit of learning they need to do via CPD, via EFIX, and all the other good stuff out there. But then I suppose with your synoptic stuff at the end and that, with all the units at the end, it's even more important, because if they're organised, which, we both sit in the workshop and the classroom together, trying to tell these, ladies and gents that actually you're only going to get out of it what you put in. So if you take what we say and take our advice on board and take some notes and organise yourself, get yourself some dividers for your folders, build your units up. You've got some, revision material to go back to, but you're organised then. So there shouldn't be a reason why you can't get over the line. But a lot of the time it's, well, just give us some questions. You got any questions? You got any? That's all they're interested in. That, it's more important with those quals to get, organised and get it done. So at the end of it, you've got everything you need to do. But with the T-level stuff, again, as I left the last college I was in, as I showed you before the podcast, I've got the qualification specification on my desk now, and it's about 2 inches thick. So I've never really got involved too much. So I'm looking forward to listening to what
we can dig into the differences between that. But before we get to that, what's the specific of 2365 and 8202 in terms of the people they're appealing to? Is there a certain type of learner that would take one route over the other?
I think it's more down to maybe the FE provider and the tutors delivering it itself. I would say most tutors probably like the traditional method of unitise, because you know what's coming, sort of thing. Obviously with the 8202, the resits aren't so often. So with a unitise exam, you can have multiple resits and then obviously get over the line, where the 8202, generally there's only 2 resits of it, because we don't mark the exams. So it's down to moderators and stuff like that to mark them. So it all depends on the FE provider, really, and the tutor department.
Yeah, I mean, as a learner, thinking it myself, I'd much prefer to do it on a unit basis because you can track your progress more easily, can't you? And know if you've got any holes you need to fill in along the way rather than leaving yourself a big problem at the end. So in terms of T levels then, how is that kind of structured? Because I assume it's different again.
It's a 2-year qualification on there. Now, again, entry levels, there's no set entry levels for it. But for electrical, what the conversations we've had with City and Guilds and other colleges and other people delivering it should be 4 and 5s in your maths, English and science, which in old money is more your B's and C's.
Yeah. I mean, that's traditionally what we would look for with electrical courses, isn't it? So it kind of makes sense. But if you've not achieved that, is there still a route in via T levels?
Well, at the moment, it's what City and Guilds are telling me is they're working on an entry level T level to prepare them for a T level if they haven't got that. So they could go to a college, resit the GCSEs if required, get them to the right level, and have an entry level qualification towards the T level. Now, at the moment, my FE provider, you can still do 2, 3, 6, 5 level 2, and then resit your GCSEs and then do a T level the following September next academic year, if that makes sense.
Okay, so the 2365 and 8202, I assume you can still take those as a paid course if you're like a retrainee. They're still been offered and exist.
Yeah, but the defunding runs out on them in 2026.
Oh, okay. So you can still provision them still. I guess they need a bit of an overlap and transition. And I guess there's a lot of training providers who may be resisting it. Is that fair to say?
I'd say most FE providers are trying to resist it. We've took it as a department and as a college to they're coming. We can't get away from them. We might as well embrace it and be ahead of the curve a little bit and try and fine tune it and tweak it the best we can to ultimately give it the best outcome for our students.
So is the funding for that similar as well then, Andrew? Is it similar kind of budget allowance for you guys?
No, I think you get more for a T level. From what I know, you get more.
So they are trying to encourage that then from a government level in that these things been delivered, because if there's more funding, you'd expect trainers would want to follow the money to a point. But I guess there's the costs associated with it all as well. New course, new equipment, maybe. Is it the same rigs or are they different?
No, what we've done at my FE provider is for the first years of the T level, we've done a mixture of level 2, level 3 content basically for them. For it, obviously they've got the core, which I'll talk about as well. But if you look at it primary as electrical, we've done a mixture of level 2 and a little bit of level 3, just because these learners are quite, academically quite well. They're quite, good. Some of our learners have got 6s and 7s, and so they're reasonably sharp. So you didn't push them a bit more than maybe someone on a level 2 that hasn't achieved, so to speak, on there, which is good in a sense.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense in life, a bit easier for you as well in the classroom, doesn't it? And how does this kind of tie in with employers? Because in the world of apprenticeships and even the 2365 and 8202, there is an element in the end, one way or another, to have engagement with an employer. So where's T levels sit amongst that as well?
Well, with the T level qualification, they've got a mandatory work placement of 45 days or 315 hours over the 2 years. So it's a 2-year qualification. They've got to complete this mandatory work placement, and it's got to be industry relatable. So if they do an electrical course, it's got to be something in construction, ideally electrical, but construction would be okay. At the moment, they can't use their part-time jobs, so some of our learners do have part-time jobs, which I'll go on to, which I think is a shame, really, because if they can't find the work placement in the industry, which I'll go into the hurdles we're having, maybe a part-time job might be viable if we could be creative a little bit, which I will talk about as well.
Yeah, that'd be good to hear about that. What are you thinking of this so far, Richard? You've been quietly observing the discussion up there.
Yeah, I've had some fantastic learners over the years that aren't ready for level 3. They're not They're not ready for level 3. They're practical people. Most sparks are practical people, and the theory side, you do it because you want to be on the tools. That's where your skill set's at, as opposed to the knowledge side and trying to get your head around formulas and Gantt charts and all the other stuff that we need to know about. So I think that there still needs to be, and I'm glad they're thinking about an entry level kind of T qualification, if that kind of makes sense, because even some learners, some kids these days, they need a level 1, some of them as well, not only for the maths and their English and the writing skills and the communication skills, but practically they're great with the phone. They can pick up a PlayStation controller, you know, but simple things like reading the tape measure, marking out, setting out, you know, communication skills with the customer, you know, putting a simple quotation invoice together, ordering your materials. Some of them need that little bit of time, a year, 2 years maybe, to grow up a little bit and to be a bit more confident within themselves, but to develop these little bits of skills, basic engineering skills, how to use a power tool and mark and measure and all the stuff that I don't know because I've not been involved with T-level, but I think they're missing a trick. So I'm glad they're bringing Summit back, because you're going to close the door on some future super sparks because they're not academically brilliant yet, if that kind of makes sense. So I know what they're trying to do, but I don't know. And, you know, I know that Andy will get onto it, but you do a 2-year T-level, but does this then map into the apprenticeship qualification, or have you just wasted 2 years of your life? I don't know. Andy will fill us in on that, but yeah, I'm a bit skeptical still, but also see what else he's got for us.
No, Rich makes a really good point about the level 1, level 2, level 3 route, because I've got learners on level 3 now, and some of them started off at level 1, and to see the growth, you know, it's really good for them. You know, you really get quite proud of them as well, and they're good lads, and they need the chance. And with the T level, it is equivalent to what they call a vocational A level. It's a trade A level. You know, it gets you UCAS points. You can go to university with it. Universities are accepting it. So, you know, like Richard made a very good point. Most tradespeople generally don't really want to go down the academic route. That's not their bag. They're more hands-on. You know, they want to go out and earn a living and so on. So we have got to be a bit careful with the T level. I know industry placements want this, industry bodies want this to make them work ready. But yeah, does it fit all the boxes? I'm a bit doubtful as well, to be fair.
Yeah, it sounds like it, because you don't want to exclude those people we do traditionally attract to industry. We've seen this with school leavers historically, where you've not done quite so well in school. You get pushed towards trades. It's just the way it always has been. And we want to see that bar risen and the caliber of people coming into industry been right. It shouldn't be at the exclusion of stopping people going through a level 1, level 2, a growing up phase. People mature differently, don't they? Some 16-year-olds will be right there, really on their game and wanting to progress, and others are maybe not quite at that stage and need, like Rich said, a bit of time to just go through some of the basics and spend some time in college. So hopefully this T-level adjustment that you're saying is coming can allow for that. It'd be a shame for those people to be left behind with funded routes into industry. So with the T-level itself, and you mentioned the core of it, is it totally electrically based, or is there elements of that spill out all over the place?
So with the core, so if you was doing a plumbing T level, carpentry T level, electrical T level, you learn all the same core. So the first year is core, which is more building services. It's got health and safety in it. It has got communications. It's got building services, building structures, data protection. It's quite, to be fair, what I've learned from it as well. I share it with another colleague at my college. Even I don't know all of it because it's not my background. We've had to self-learn ourselves. It's like, whoa, okay. For it, Hodder do a great book for it as well. The T-level book. It's been a real help for me reading through that and obviously highlighting it, tabbing it, and understanding it. Because we're honest with the students. We're not experts on this. We're electricians. It's a new qualification. There's no point hiding behind that. I think this is going to be tricky for FE providers to get people with this industry background to come and teach it. I think that's going to be a real tough for the core. But going back to it, they have 2 core exams. Now, You can do that in the first or the second year. We go in the first year because they can sit it again in the second year, and whichever result they get, the highest mark out, they keep. And those core exams are A, B, C, and D, the old traditional routes.
Oh, wicked. So that it is graded because the routes of the past you kind of pass or fail, don't you? You get your scores of your exams, but ultimately you get your certificate or you don't. So this actually produces a grade. That's kind of nice.
Yeah. So does the 8202 as well. The 8202 does that for level 3. So you get a pass merit distinction as well. So it recognises if you've done well on that as well.
I do like that because there are some people who really do excel through their training, and at the end they can be stood there with the same qualification of someone who snuck through by 1% all the way along, and there's no way to distinguish between one or the other than the interview stage. So that's kind of nice, I think. Is there any kind of other unique angles to the T level that people might want to know about in terms of the training and delivery in college before we dig into the employment side of things?
But what they have to do what they call an employer set project, which is again is set by the awarding body, and it's usually a report brief they have to complete. It's videoed as well, 10 minutes videoed, and that goes off for moderation as well. One of the years it was setting up a site. You know, where would you put the toilets? Where you put the canteen? You know, how many toilets would you have on site, depending on the number of workers? What security would have? What lighting? So it's quite good. That I found that a really good one actually. I thought, well, that it's a bit like the triple STS kind of course you'd go on, a low key version of that. So the employee set project is a good thing for them. It gets them out of the comfort zone. Obviously, they've got to be in front of a camera. They've got to present. They've got to actually research. Go and then produce a report back as well. So many words in it as well.
So it sounds like with the education side of things, with you saying this can lead towards university, is it keeping more doors open for a student than just going to be an electrician? You know, is that kind of what this is looking to do?
The conversations I've had when I was looking into T level, so as I knew it was going to deliver it was like a level 4 qualification, so to speak, and it was designed for learners that maybe wanted to go into project management, design, estimating parts of the company, site supervisors. That it was designed to that because traditionally there is an apprenticeship for that. You do your electrical apprenticeship, and if you're lucky enough to work for a reasonably sized company, they might have estimators, they might have designers, and they might go, do you fancy coming in the office and learning that side of the industry? So it was aimed for that. I thought it was anyway, and maybe not the traditional hands-on electrician, so to speak.
Yeah, that's kind of how it's sounding for me. So I guess school leavers are left with the options of going for that full-time apprenticeship kind of thing that we all are used to. The newer domestic twist on that, and now that the T levels where you may be looking towards more of an academic route, but still keeping a door open to maybe transition with an employer through the course of that training into an apprenticeship or something. Have you seen that happening already? Is that something that's taking place?
Well, funny enough, our numbers have been quite low, to be fair. Our cohort from September last year, we had 15, we're now down to 14 students. That was quite high. We haven't run it year on year on. We've just done a cohort for 2 years and then took another cohort on. And the first cohort we only had 5 learners, and then that went down to 3. 2 of them found apprenticeships themselves, which is good for them. And then the other 3, 2 of them wanted to go into the armed forces.
All right. So do those kind of qualifications, RPL or whatever, into those places, or does that not really matter to them?
I'm not sure it matters too much, but definitely it's the UCAS points, I think, for it as well. It's showing they can do a quite a high level course as well, isn't it? You know,
yeah,
high level at the end of the day. So to speak.
So that's an interesting angle on things. That's just a thought that kind of cropped into my head that, you know, if you do get exposure to employers, and we'll talk about how difficult that is at the minute for you, Andrew, in a second, you know, you maybe can swap over to an apprenticeship. Maybe that is a better twist on things than maybe.
Well, we and my colleagues say if they go to an electrical company and if they perform quite well, I know if I was at an electrical company, what I would be doing myself personally.
Yeah.
It's quite obvious, isn't it?
you'd be shifting to try and get yourself a job role in there, wouldn't you, on a permanent basis?
Yeah, well, or take them on permanently and offer them an apprenticeship. You know, but it doesn't win for the T level, but it wins for the learner, doesn't it?
I guess that becomes messy for you as a training provider, though, because you've got the funding application on that learner. If they're swapping around courses and maybe not finishing their training with you, do you see a problem with that, Richard?
Yeah, sorry.
Well, it leads me on to the next question. That do any of the units then map over into either the Guild's 5357 framework or the EAL version or not? Or let's say you spend a year, 2 years completing the T level and you still want to be an electrician. Where does this sit within the the apprenticeship framework? Can we use the knowledge of this, build up your portfolio and do AM2, or does none of this map in, or what's the score with it? That's my concern.
To answer your question, Rich, yes, it does. What I've been told, I've not had a student transfer to know this, but what I've been told, it does map in. So traditionally the apprenticeship is a 4-year route. Traditionally, it sometimes overlaps that, but traditionally it's 4 years. They would, if they completed a T level, they don't have to do 2 years. They would have to do obviously the portfolio. Have to do that. That's what goes without saying. They'd have to do the regs, because they would be light on the regs, and they would have to do the inspection and testing and fault finding.
Okay, great. But within this T level, then is the old 104, whatever it is, within the other units, the design unit in there?
Yeah. So in the second year of the T level, they do a synoptic project as well, a design brief. Very similar to 5357 or 2365 there. Traditionally, the 5357 is the hotel brief, isn't it? And the 2365 is the same hotel, isn't it?
But how can you design something based on a minimum standard when you don't have knowledge of the minimum standard?
Yeah, I agree. That's why as FE we do first year, we do core, and we do level 2 and level 3 electrical with them.
Got you. So you've kind of adapted it then to make it make sense, to give the learner the best chance they've got, whether it be completing the T level or transferring that knowledge into the apprenticeship framework.
Yeah,
your colleagues have took that on yourselves based on your knowledge and experience of delivering those other quals and knowing what you actually need in your own, what they need to be able to progress forward. So
correct. And like I said, level 2, like I said, first year of T level at my FE would be core. And then they have core lessons, they'd have theory lessons where they do a mixture of level 2, level 3. And then second year, they've done all the core in the first year. And then we just do predominantly level 3 in the second year. That's it.
So do you revisit some of the stuff from level 2? So let's say you do level 2 science and principles. Do you then do you revisit that, but then go into some of the, like within the 5357, you do units 1 to 6, so magnetism and levers and all that type of stuff, and then you do your inductor reactants and your other bits and pieces in the second half. Is that similar to what you've adopted for this?
Yeah, it's part of the range they have to cover. They have to cover inverse square law, Luhmann method, all that kind of stuff for the science and principles. So we'll do that. It's the same stuff really. In there, we'll do that at level. We'll do that in year 2. The more level 3 science and principles, XL, XC, those formers. But
within the qual, then there's nothing in there that states you've got to do in the way that you've done it. You've just
science and principles. You're quite light on the T levels. There's not much science and principles in there. Not at all.
But then it begs the question that how does the T level bit then transfer into the apprenticeship framework, like the 5357, when because you've delivered it, the amount of written papers and exams that's in the 5357? How does it transfer? It doesn't make sense.
I can only tell you what I've been told is that it maps. But I understand where you're coming from, but that's what I've been told how it maps. I'm with you.
It sounds like you've got the hard yards of learning a bit about this to share with some other trainers. I know we have a lot of trainers and training providers listen to this podcast. So we'll maybe get some tips that you've learned through your experience towards the end. Keep them listening through some of the more difficult topics we want to cover around this T level.
And vice versa for them. Anyone that's, can help me, I help them. It goes without saying, I might be doing something, I might go, hang on, you're doing it wrong here, you need to be doing this. And if that's the case, great, because it's so infant. I don't know. We're just at the baby steps of it. I think everyone's just muddling their way through slightly with it.
It sounds like you're trying to do it in the best way you can by putting these extra bits in around the core of the subject that you've got to deliver. And full credit to you for that, by the way, because you don't have to. You're taking the time and making the effort. I know that you've had some issues in terms of getting people placed with employment. You've kind of alluded to that in the early parts of this chat, so especially with some part-time job roles and stuff. Is that the biggest challenge you've got with this delivery of the course at the minute?
Yeah, well, at the moment, I don't know the answer. No one's really given me the answer so far from the awarding bodies. What is the consequences of a student completing the T level, being a good student, but not finding the work placement? Because ultimately, it's down to the FE provider to provide the placement. I'm not saying that's an easy quest for my FE provider, and they are really trying. They do have industry placement officers, on the phone, emailing, networking, every day. That's the job, and they're not getting that great response. Ultimately, yeah, we do put a little bit of pressure on the student to try and help us with that if they can, and some of them have, which is great. They might have family, friends, or connections, or whatever be that can get them into the industry on that. But I don't know the consequence, whether they get the full qualification or they don't get the qualification if they don't complete it.
That'd be the worry, wouldn't it? That you've delivered all of the classroom side of stuff, and then you can't get the completion because you've not been able to find or source any employers. How many hours you saying it's like? Is it 40? They need to put in
45 days and 315 hours.
That's a fair amount, is it? And do employers have to pay any costs towards that?
No, we can provide travel costs for them. There is some grants as well if they need work equipment, laptops, whatever equipment what they might need. Obviously PPE to get on sites. So on, the college will provide that as well.
And is this available to all employers, small and large? There's no prerequisites. You need in a health and safety department and all that stuff.
No, just to touch on that, the only problem we've had with small employers with that, so the one-man band, without being sexist there, so to speak, but traditionally known as that, is if they're because the employment laws, when they're 16 to 18, any drivers, anytime they get in a van, anyone who goes in the van with one of our students has to have a DBS check.
Yeah, that's consistent with a lot of other areas of the world as well, isn't it, these days? So I don't think that would be a roadblock to stopping anyone from wanting to do that. It's just a process you've got to get ticked off, I guess.
Yeah, and we're paid for the DBS as well. The college will pay for the DBS for them as well. So there's no cost for the employer for that.
So this sounds like a good opportunity for employers, to be fair, because one of the complaints lots of people have about starting with the recruitment of an apprentice is the cost of it. So just thinking off the cuff here a little bit, if you've got access to a pool of students who are already in college, have already had a bit of vetting and training and engagement to them, and you've got an opportunity to take them into your business as free labour, see how that went, and there maybe is an opportunity there down the road to develop that into an apprenticeship, or just keep on that path. You can keep taking more students in, I assume. So it sounds like a winner from an employer's point of view to me.
We call it try before you buy kind of thing. You trial them, and if they perform, there could be a job opportunity for the student at the end of the process. So it's in their interest to perform. If it's the right fit for them, sometimes it's not the right fit for both parties.
Yeah, I mean, we're desperate for employers everywhere, aren't we, Richard? We see this across industry and all forms of training. And I would just say, if you are an employer now listening to this and you want to have an opportunity of taking on an apprentice, reach out to your local FE providers like Andrew in his current role, because they're desperate for employers to be engaged across all forms of training. Fair to say, Rich?
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm sure Andy does it, but, the learners themselves have got to think a little bit about how they're going to sell themselves. And I always used to encourage mine to take some photographs of some of the work in the workshop, equally some of the, the written work, and if they've got a merit or a distinction, it's something to be proud of. What makes you stand out against somebody else? Because if you're trying to get an apprenticeship, that's hard. But equally, this is a similar type thing. You're trying to sell yourself to get, a start within a firm, within a company, to get some experience. But equally, it might lead to an apprenticeship. But you've got to, and with social media and stuff these days, and there's a lot of people, young kids, that do a really good job of that. There's quite a few that I follow on LinkedIn that have done a little lighting job in the workshop, and they're sticking it on there. Look what I've been up to today. And we always look at the bad side of industry, but there's some really good work being done from the grassroots up, and that's the job of the lecturer, making sure that work is of a good quality, but passing the work on to their own standard, really. And that gets overlooked because, and you'll remember what I was like in the workshop. You either do it right or you don't do it at all, and that's how it is.
Yeah, we often tell our students there's a special place for that work. Sometimes.
Yeah. But you want to encourage them how that transfers over then to eventually, hopefully, when they become qualified and they're running their own business, because that's built on reputation, isn't it? That's built on, the core values of, doing a good job for the right money, and getting the dustpan and brush out, and having a clean and a tidy up, and taking a bit of pride in what you do. And that's the point of it. People always look at the bad side of the industry, but actually it's a great industry to be in, so yeah. And another issue was, a number of years ago, was that a lot of sites, you needed obviously some kind of CSCS or JIB card. And way back when I was with Gaz many years ago, we were trying to campaign to get some kind of card for a trainee. I think they are available now, but there wasn't any of those cards. So again, that was something that employers couldn't take them on, even for work experience, because they couldn't get on site. But I believe that there are cards available. Is that right, Andy? Now that you can,
you can. We've had the same problem under 18 on site, no loan working, having insurance in place, which is fair enough. They work on a construction site. You can get CSCS cards now, trainee ones, and again, they have to do the course. They have to do the full course to get the card, or they can get a temporary card. I think it lasts them for 6 months, that we used as well. For them as well. So there are cards available, whether it's a temporary or full one. And again, the kind of FE provider, because of the funding they get, can provide those courses if needed, or costs. So there are hurdles, and we can get through them, but you need both parties to work with them.
And I presume you can't get the card until you've completed the health and safety unit.
Yeah, well, there's again, because it's a T level, there's no health and safety unit, is there? So they'd have to do the actual CSCS exam. So
okay, fine, okay. Oh, so you don't. There's none of the old up and down the ladder and the scaffold and the manual handling and the cosh and all that stuff in the core of this.
No, there is theory, but no practical.
Right, but do you kind of bring a little bit in because you've tailored it to your own? Yeah, that's good, isn't it? Because it's all right showing people stuff in a book, especially these young kids and whatever, but they need to be doing it. They need to understand what you're talking about. It's very difficult looking at a photograph in a book.
The main one we teach is obviously safe isolation, which goes without saying, doesn't it? It's a no-brainer. Every student should know how to do that safely.
Should, for definite. It sounds like this is kind of a concept that's been brought forward in its infancy, as you said, Andrew, which has got some potential there to maybe engage into employers. If we fast forward 3 or 4 years, when all of the FE providers are having to deliver this, and they've got the traditional group of learners who haven't been able to secure apprenticeships, who are put on full-time education routes and maybe not exposed to employers, and there's no real requirement for that till the end of the training. It's kind of trying to make that happen. Is that fair to say? And then maybe some input from the likes of yourselves to develop this more bespoke towards the electrical sector, shall we say, is needed as time moves along. Is that something that can happen?
I don't see why not. I don't see why it couldn't happen. Definitely, if you collaborate with other FE providers, and City and Guilds do put on good events for that. So I think that will keep on going on in the future, where you can talk to each other. What do you do? How do you do it? And that's the best way. It's the best way, best practices, isn't it? By learning off others, I think.
100%, absolutely. And it's great that the likes of yourself are stepping forward to speak about this. You did mention about the part-time employment and that not been accounted within this training route. Is that something that you think is a bit of a problem that could be worked on?
Well, I think, like I said, we've got 14 students at the moment on the first year of the T level from September. I think 3 or 4 of them have got part-time jobs. One's got one in the butchers, one works at the local Greyhound course. Now, I don't see why we couldn't set them a project that was electrically biased in that workplace, maybe a health and safety project. How could you make it more energy efficient? In all that kind of stuff, what renewable energies could you put in there? And they have to do a report on that. How would they do an energy upgrade on it? They could have fluorescent light fittings, so they could change into LED. Could they, how many solar panels could they put on the Greyhound roof? X, Y, Z. There's lots of things we could do. It'd have to be a bit tailored, and it'd have to be down to the college to tailor that synoptic project, whatever you want to call it, because every employer will be slightly different. But I think you could have the bare bones. I think definitely renewable energy will make it more energy efficient for any workplace, would be quite a viable project for them to complete and industry relatable. So I don't see why that would be a problem.
For me, it's a no-brainer. If they've got a job role and it's an environment they can tick off parts of their training, why not make use of that? It doesn't seem unreasonable not to. What do you think, Rich?
Absolutely, because it's real life, then, isn't it? It's a project based on your workplace, which you're going to be familiar with. So all of that knowledge that you took in during your core or your lessons or whatever, you're going to apply that then in a real life situation, and then it's a win-win, isn't it? Because it's already your workplace, but equally, you as I say, you're already familiar with that work environment. So, as you say, I don't see why that can't be. You know, especially if you're struggling to get all those hours, and that's a lot of hours to accomplish, isn't it? That can't be utilised, or it's more work for you know, the lecturers and whatever. But it's madness that it can't be considered. At least I'd like to think that the awarding organisations would kind of do or have some meetings moving forward, best practice. And I mean, how are the, you know, external quality assurance people going to assess this and mark this? And it's a bit like when the 5357 came out as like a trailblazer, isn't it? In a roundabout way. By the sounds of it, you've got to pick it up and develop it the best way that you think you can, and see how you get on as you go forwards. But yeah, that's, as you say, it's a no-brainer, that, surely. I mean, and it's very difficult to get that electrically biased work experience, isn't it? You can encourage people to maybe go the wholesalers, but it's not that easy sometimes, and not everyone's got that level of confidence to go and get out there and put your CV out and knock a few doors and stuff. But if you've already got a job, as you say, it's got to count for something. Not all, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Yeah,
if it's relatable, it makes sense to use it, doesn't it? And you're saying that that's not allowed at the minute, Andrew. They're not letting you do that.
What I'm aware of, it has to be industry relatable. How loosely that is, I don't know. Again, because it's still at infant stage, we haven't tried it. We've just been quite, you know, to the book, so to speak. But maybe someone from City and Guilds might get in contact with me and go, no, actually, Andy, you can use this, and that'd be great. Win-win, you know. So if I'm wrong, hold my hands up. But that's what I read it as.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. You can only go on the information you've got in front of you, haven't you, at the end of the day? And you have picked this up and run with it at your training provider. So full credit to all of you. Is there anything that stands out for you and your team of lecturers that you've picked up through the course of trying to deliver this training that you might want to share with others who are on that journey now? Because there will be a few training providers who are looking at this with fresh eyes.
The core is quite intense. It's quite a level. The core is, to be fair. You know, like I said, it's A-level kind of stuff. In an FE environment, you could. What we've done is some parts of the core we're not experts, so we've used other departments within the college to deliver those ranges. So they have classes with, and again, if a plumbing T-level student, we can teach them some of the electrical stuff and vice versa, because there's air conditioning in there. The structural kind of stuff in there as well, which we use the engineering department. There's a bit of CAD in there as well. So we do collaborate with different departments within the college to deliver it, because we're not experts. That would be my best advice, would reach out to different departments and go, can you deliver that for us? And what can we deliver for you?
So it's a collaboration amongst departments within the training provider, which sounds like a good thing to me. I think that's a nice way of approaching it. And it does sound like you at your FE, I don't know if you want to mention them. I don't want to say it without stepping out of line, but you're really trying on this, and that's to be applauded.
It's Walsall College I work for, and yeah, I think they have embraced the T levels. I think we're the only one in the West Midlands area doing electrical T levels at the moment. I may be wrong again, but I think we're one of the only ones.
That's okay. We can be allegedly scandalous on the Apprentice One-to-One podcast from time to time. Now, credit to you, mate. I think it's fantastic that, this is the thing that's been decided is going to happen. It's way above our pay grades to make those decisions, isn't it? It's happening. This has been brought forward. We need to try and figure it out as employers, training providers, and industry as well, Richard, where you swim in those seas now. I think it's key that we get together and make this work for those learners. And the fact you're trailblazing that now, Andrew, credit to you. Any insight you want to offer from the top screen there again, Richard?
Again, I've been out of the game in terms of this whole qualification, so most of this is new to me. It's nice to speak to Andy again, but also nice to hear some of the struggles that I remember going back. But there is one little question I'll ask, and that's around guided learning hours, which was always a little bit of a thing where you would be allocated so many hours, or the qualification said that you would need X amount of hours, but in reality you never got those hours, and that was always a bit of a struggle. Is that kind of the same with this qual, or are you finding that's not really a problem? Or
no, I think with the 2-year window, it does give you that breathing space compared to what you would find for starting in September and getting most people completed by end of May, start of June. You've got that from your management's team or whatever to get that delivered. Whereas you've got that breathing space. It's 2 years. It just requires you as a team to plan it, whether you go to the core in the first year or the second year. We pushed the core in the first year just to give them a second chance to resit it. We might not deliver much core in the second year, but if they certainly wanted to do an exam again to get a better mark, we would do revision for it. Of course, we would.
So just to get my head around it, then. So let's say they complete this T level, 2 years. If they wanted to be an electrician, they then have to do the regs unit and the testing and fault finding unit. And we don't know what the duration would be of those. So it's not 2 years. It would be 2 years plus those units, plus the portfolio, plus AM2. So is there any benefit to this over the traditional 5357 or EAL equivalent apprenticeship? Is this better, or you'll be able to tell? Actually, you'll be able to.
If at the moment, if I'm honest, I'd always say the apprenticeship is the best route to get into the industry. I can't see me ever changing that view, because obviously that's my background. That I had apprenticeship. I've taught the apprenticeships with yourself. I think it's the best route. I like the T-level qualification because I like the work placement. I think it's a good thing in it. It just needs finding out a little bit about how we get that on there. So I'd say it's got some good points. But yeah, if I was being honest, I'd always recommend to all my students, your best route into the industry is an apprenticeship. If you can't get an apprenticeship, do your 2365 level 2 and find an apprenticeship while you're doing that, or do a T-level. If you've got the right grades, and then again do 2 years and then find an apprenticeship after that, kind of thing. If you want. So
really, it's kind of a door into our industry, but for the more academic learners, in it really, that have got maybe the B's and the C's, B's and the A's, whatever it is now, 7s, 8s, whatever it is. So very clever in terms of maths and English, etc. But when they start this qual, they might have an idea they want to be a Sparks, but actually with the practical element to it, it's not something to chuck in the bin. By the sounds of it, if we can try and help and get more employers involved and engaged with trying to give them this work experience, it's actually a good step into the industry, isn't it? I know it's
definitely. I think with renewable energies coming up as well, especially with the commercial side of renewable energies. If you're thinking, if you've got you know, 28,000 panels in a field. That's not an easy design to come across, is it? Compare, you know, I'm not taking away someone doing it on a domestic setting either. I'm just saying this is, we try and encourage them. This might be a good career for you, renewable energy, in a commercial sense, because obviously you're academically quite high.
Yeah, but for sure, a bit like the traditional apprenticeship framework then, with the Electrician Plus, which I know Mark was involved with, which is really good, I think. There's still a way into that as well. Once you've done this core, done those additional units, and then your portfolio AM2, but then gain those additional quals on top. So your EV charging, your solar PV, and your battery storage potentially. So the routes are kind of there or thereabouts. It's not you know, it's not something to chuck in the bin. I'm certainly
No. One of the part of the T-level range is the Internet of Things. So it's all smart stuff. You know, it's all your smart home technologies. They have to do research on that and understand that. You know, Hive, other companies. I can't think of the top of my head, but there's other smart home stuff. Loads of them. They have to be aware of that, because obviously, again, that is the future, isn't it, for homeowners? That's what everyone wants, don't they, in the house?
For sure, yeah. And finally, how is it measured? Is it measured by learners passing those exams? Is that the only way it's measured?
We don't, as the college don't mark any exams. We give feedback only, so we don't. So any assessments, we obviously assessment we would give a pass or a fail kind of thing, but it's a grey boundary, so to speak, on there where they've got the bands in there, so to speak.
Okay, so can you fail this qualification?
Again, I don't know without the work placement whether that counts as a fail. When you complete, I don't know how that is. Yeah, you could, of course, you could if you didn't complete the synoptic or you didn't pass the assessments. Of course, I don't know if it counts as a fail, but it's not completed would be the word. Probably.
And they only get to it. This is why you do them in the first year of the course, so they get a second chance. What about if they don't achieve what they need to achieve with the second chance? Then do they get a third chance? Or
I think it's just that's the grade boundary they get. So if they've got a D, that's what they end up with, a D instead of being a C or a B. You know, a pass. They've got it's a pass. It's just not a high pass, is it, so to speak? It's the pass.
Well, I mean, it'd be nice to check back in with you maybe a little bit later in the year and see how you're getting on, and then see what the learners are, how they getting on with it, and see what they feel about it all. But it seems it's been great to delve into it a bit more, for sure.
No, thanks for having us on, guys. It's been I've been dying to get on. I really appreciate me inviting me in and having a chat today. So massive thanks to both of you taking your time for me.
No, it's brilliant that you've come on to speak about this subject, because it is something I've been asked a lot about and I don't know anything about whatsoever. Before we end it, Andrew, if you've not got anything else you want to speak about, I have got one more question from a learner's point of view right now. And that is, if you're kind of approaching as a school leaver this September in 2024, would you be wanting to hunt out for a T level if you couldn't get an apprenticeship, or would you be looking at still going down these other offerings that are going to be available? What would be your advice?
I always, because we have open days at the college, and we get that sort of question as well. So it's a valid question. I always ask them, what do you prefer? Do you enjoy theory, or do you prefer being a bit more hands-on, being, you know, building something? Because if you enjoy, some students do prefer the theory side rather than the practical side, and vice versa. You do get that. And I say, if you enjoy like maths and physics, because basically that's what the theory side is in a nutshell, for electrical, then go for the T level. If you're a bit more hands-on, go for the 2365 if you can't find your apprenticeship, but be aware that you've only got that for 1 year, and then after that it's either T level or apprenticeship. So it depends how you look at it, taking one step back to gain 2 steps forward, or starting at that 2 steps forward on a T level. It depends on the learner, I suppose, on that one.
Hopefully the other training providers out there are going to be honest with that information with the learners coming through to them, and not and just default placing them as they traditionally have. I think it's a conversation that they should be having with students, and hopefully that is the case. Is there anything else you want to add, mate, before we end this and wrap this up?
No, I think we've covered all the bases, really. I'm just hoping to hear off other people on the social networks now, and maybe I've misquoted or said something wrong. If I have, please feel free, let me know. More information I have on it, better. Great, you know, hopefully.
Totally. What about you, Richard?
No, again, It's just been nice to delve into it, and try and understand a bit more about the concept of it, and why it's there. I was more concerned about somebody potentially spending 2 years getting involved with this, and ultimately it's given nothing towards going down the traditional route of being an electrician. So in effect, from 4 years of learning, it's now gone to 6. But I'm glad that's not the case as such. But I think if we can get employers on board with it a bit, and because that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's no good in a book. You need to be out on site, or being involved with it, so you can think, oh yeah, I've seen a bit of that on site. I've seen a bit of that. I've seen him do that. I've seen him having a conversation. I've seen a delivery note from a wholesaler's. I've been to a wholesaler's. All those things that are in a book, you need to bring them to life somehow. But it must be a massive wall really to try and get over, even with all the good people you've got at the college, trying to find these placements and that. But if we can do something collectively and trying to get employers engaged a bit more to help, and all colleges will suffer with it, I'm sure. But yeah, I was skeptical about it, but actually it's in theory it's a good thing, but I think it's going to be down to lecturers within their own college to try and formulate something to make it work. So I'd love to come back and speak to you a bit later in the year, and see how you're finding it still, and see if you've changed anything, or
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get both you guys to come and visit the college and maybe speak to I mean, I know Mark spoke to the T levels at the networking event, but I'd love to get you to come in and speak to our students and the T level students as well.
Love to.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Mark, whenever Mark's available, because he's such a busy man these days.
I pretend to be.
yeah. If we can, I mean, by all means, if we can come and come together collectively and drop in, mate, that'd be good. I've been promising for a while, but yeah, it's gone a bit mad here as well. But for sure, that'd be really good, mate, because then you can have always like to still talk to them, the learners, and find out why they want to be an electrician and delve into it a bit, and see how they're getting on really, and see what they're doing to try and get themselves a placement or an apprenticeship, because you've got to engage it a little bit, but also tell the story that we all started from somewhere as well. They might, I've got to do this and I've got to do that, but we've all had to do it. We've all had to be up at 5 a.m, go and fetch the sound. I mean, it was a lot worse when we was on site. Some of the things that was done to us that's not really allowed anymore. But
definitely.
Yeah, but good.
I mean, we'll take Apprentice 1-to-1 Academy on tour and come and see you anytime, Andrew. It'd be an absolute pleasure. I just want to end with 2 final points. One is that I hope industry are paying attention to the likes of Andrew and his colleagues with feedback on the delivery of these courses. That's absolutely essential to make this work for the long term. And the more people delivering it as we go forward, hearing those voices as well. And if you are employers, please do get in touch with your local FE training providers directly, and other training providers if there isn't an FE local to you, and see if they need your help with the delivery of T levels and all kinds of other training. They're absolutely desperate for that support. So if you are in a position and you just want to offer your time, if you can't take on an apprentice, they would take you up on that and some. So please do have those conversations. If anyone's got any questions in and around the podcast we've spoken about tonight, please do drop them in the comments below. I'll leave links to Andrew's LinkedIn account so you can go off and track him down and tell him how right or wrong he is, should you wish to. And otherwise, thank you all very much for listening, and we will see you on the next one.
See you on the next one, guys.
See you guys. Thank you.